Can you see? This is William.
William, we can hear you. We can hear you. We cannot see you. No video.
We saw you earlier.
Yeah, I was about to say, Mayor can put you back up.
There he is. There he is.
I was so,
Now you're
I
good,
was
William.
so
Now we can see you.
so offended by the photo that I just.
We're going live.
We are live, folks.
We're live. It's 3:59, everyone. It is now 4 o'clock on January 4th, 2021. Now officially open this meeting of the Conway City Council. Welcome everyone and Happy New Year. We will begin with an invocation and I'll be happy to offer one of my own. If you'll join me, please. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for our survival of the year 2020 that has just been filled with peril. We thank you for the opportunity to serve our neighbors and ask that you keep us mindful of who our neighbors are with all their differences as we make decisions for the city. These things we ask in your name, amen. We'll now have an approval of the agenda. If there is a motion.
Mayor, Larry,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. White. I will second your motion, Mr. White, in consideration of also with one change in the agenda itself. We had been scheduled for an executive session, and I believe that because the issue before us does not require any quick response on our parts, that that one item be postponed until another date, preferably when we're in person, but we certainly can't guarantee when that is. Would you agree to that change in your motion to approve the agenda, Mr. White?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. We now have properly seconded a motion to approve the agenda with the exclusion of the executive session. All in favor, indicate with saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, if you would please, because we're back to a virtual meeting, would you please perform a roll call and give us an indication of whether or not a quorum is present?
Certainly. Mayor, you are here. Shane Hubbard,
Here.
William Goldfinch,
William's here.
Alex Hyman,
Here.
Ms. Timms,
Here.
Justin Jordan,
Here.
Larry White.
Here.
That is everyone.
Thank you so much. So we do have a quorum, pardon me. We'll now entertain a motion relative to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? That was Ms. Tim. I will second the motion to also approve the consent agenda. If I've overlooked anybody else's intent to do so, it just has to do with my inability to see everyone at once. We have now then a properly seconded motion to also approve the consent agenda. All in favor, if you would just indicate with saying the word aye. Mr. White?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Ms. Timms?
Aye.
Mr. Hyman?
Aye.
Mr. Goldfinch? I know that Mr. Goldfinch is with us to some extent. He's having some technical difficulties. The motion carries. I don't know that I can assume it's unanimously, but certainly carries by a majority. Moving forward, we are at an important part of our meeting, at which time we elect our mayor pro tem. This designation is the person who will act as mayor in the absence or inability of the mayor to act in that regard. Is there a motion? Historically, there is an order through which a mayor pro tem is selected based on time of service and who is most recently served. It's a bit of a complicated formula, but as I would believe the case to be, Ms. Jean Timms is eligible to be our next mayor pro tem. I would therefore move that she be elected mayor pro tem. Is there a second?
Mayor, this is William. I apologize. That's the second time I got cut out. So I've just
Yeah.
called back in and I'm on
Yes.
the phone, okay?
Wonderful. Yes,
But I would
I'm
second
glad.
your motion if that's okay.
Absolutely. And I appreciate being able to hear you, even though I can't see you. Thank you so much. We have a properly seconded motion then to name Jean Timms as mayor pro tem for the 2021 calendar year. All in favor, I'll just call on you individually. Mr. White?
Present, yes.
Mr. Jordan?
Yes.
Ms. Timms?
Yes.
Mr. Hyman?
Yes.
And Mr. Goldfinch?
Yes, ma'am.
And yours truly, and I certainly do agree. So the motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Ms. Timms.
Thank
You are
you.
now our mayor pro tem. We are now at item 6, an opportunity for public input. Ms. Tessier, do you have general public input that you would need to share that you've received from people who are not able to join this virtual meeting?
Yes, I do.
Okay, would you please read them for our hearing?
Certainly. I just have one. It is a letter from, or an email rather, from Francine Tucker, who lives in Tiger Grand. She said she was given a letter from a neighbor today with concerns about rezoning on Coulter Road from Conway Bank to Tiger Grand. I understand they want to build 16 houses right there. Building houses there would create such a hardship for everyone using that road. Coulter Road is a very high traffic road because everyone comes down from 701 or from 501 to 701. Getting out of Tiger Grand now is very difficult and you have to leave earlier just to turn left to 501. It would be dangerous for those living in the houses and those driving from 501 because the light is there, the bank is there, and Aldi supermarket is there. So someone backing out of their driveway would get hit by an oncoming car. There is just no way it can be made safe to build houses there. The congestion on Coulter Road is already pretty bad. The cars will be backed up onto 501. When does the building stop? The city just cannot build the amount of houses that it is allowing to be built already. Ambulances use Coulter Road and they would be hindered by having so many houses built there. Please do not allow this to happen. More houses, more cars, no way out of the city. I was driving on the bridge days after the last hurricane and the bridge was flooded. And right after I made it off the bridge, they closed it. It took my son 4 hours to get home after the hurricane because of all the traffic and cars using the bridges. The city has to reconsider all the building that they are doing. Please do not allow this to happen. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tessier. We really appreciate your providing us with public input. We're now at item 7, two special presentations. Item A, a discussion of a
Excuse me,
request. I'm
Mayor,
sorry.
could we please close public input?
Absolutely. And I'm so sorry. I just went
Thank
right
you.
past that. I would certainly entertain a motion to close public input at this time. Thank you for the reminder, Ms. Tessier. Is
Mayor,
there a motion?
I'll make a motion to close public input. This is
Thank you, Mr. Hyman. Is there a second?
Second, Larry.
That motion has been properly seconded by Mr. White. And just in the order that I've been using, the order in which I see you, I will ask for your approval. Mr. White,
Yes.
Mr. Jordan,
Yes.
Ms. Timms,
Yes.
Mr. Hyman,
Yes.
Mr. Goldfinch,
Yes, ma'am.
and I vote yes as well. So the motion carries unanimously. Now then.
Madam
motion-
Mayor,
Yes, please.
you forgot to ask Mr. Hubbard as well.
Mr. Hubbard, I didn't go far enough backwards, Mr. Hubbard. This does have some level of difficulty, or maybe not so much difficulty as it is just remembering how to maneuver everything. Mr. Hubbard, please
Vote
take
yes.
this opportunity to vote. Thank you so much, sir. If I've left you out in the past, I certainly did not intend to do so.
Madam Mayor, it is a
Yes.
level of difficulty with these iPads. I like mine, but it's difficult to maneuver, so I agree with you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. We'll move on now to item 7, special presentations. Item A is a discussion of a request to rezone just over 1/3 of an acre of property located at 1612 16th Avenue. The PIN is 338-1503-0005 from City of Conway low to medium density residential to medium density residential. And I'm not sure who the presenter is. Would that be Mr.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council.
Oh, Ms. Hyman. Yes, ma'am, please.
Yes. This is a request to rezone from R1 to R2. There's an existing single-family home on the property, but the current owner has removed that home and would like to build a duplex in its place. This went to Planning Commission in December. This is one of those that's right on the edge. The future land use map shows it as low density residential. And normally for a parcel this small, it would be considered spot zoning to rezone it to R2. This is why I say it's on the edge. There's R2 across the street, but even so, there aren't any duplexes in the immediate area. I believe there are some on Ward Circle, but not immediately adjacent to this property. But when we felt we could bring forward and not go against the spot zoning portion of our ordinance because there is R2 across the street. However, staff does have some concerns about rezoning it because it's mainly single family residential on the adjacent properties.
Thank you. If there are any duplexes in Ward Circle, I'm unaware. Mr. White, you actually lived there recently. Are you aware of any?
I wanted to make sure I knew what a duplex was before I answered that question, because I don't remember seeing any over there.
And that was just for me driving through. One looked like it. It would just be a home it's 2 homes, but 1 building.
Right. But no, I don't, I'm pretty certain that there are none. There may be homes that have what appear to be a dual front entry.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. But they're.
And that may be what I saw.
That's right.
But they're not actual dual residences.
And even so, that was not very close to the site in question. But
Yes,
I did try to look around and see if I saw any in the area.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Are there comments from anyone else comments or questions from other council members?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
If this is on, what is that, 16th Avenue, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That cause any issues with the other houses on that side of the street or future building?
It shouldn't. It would just affect this property only.
Yeah, Ms. Hyman, what would cause us not to think that this would be spot zoning?
Only, and like I said, the way the ordinance is written, it says that it's different than the surroundings. There's R2 across the street, but even then, it's a little bit of a stretch.
Yes.
It is across the street. If you can see on the map, the darker, the sort of mustard color is R2. And this parcel's the lighter khaki color is R1.
Okay.
And Madam Mayor, this is Adam. For the record, I believe that staff does have some concerns about this being rezoned to R2.
Yes, sir.
We do. Yes. And I
did-
apologize. I thought I'd said that at the
Oh, no,
beginning.
you did. But it's good to have that restated, just to make sure that we're all aware that we don't have a firm recommendation from staff that we go in that direction. When will this come up for a decision by council?
At the next council meeting. And I did make the applicant aware that staff had concerns from the very beginning. So
Okay.
he is aware.
All right.
Of it.
Last call for comments or questions from the council.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Timms.
How big is this lot? It looks very narrow.
It's 0.39 of an acre. It'd be tight. It'd be a small, if a duplex was built there, or it would be small. And we made the applicant aware of those setback requirements as well.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mayor,
Mr. Hammond?
while I understand there's R2 across kind of catty corner, I mean, it appears there's no R2 on that side of the road. I mean, that would be one of my concerns as well, is that I think it is a pretty big stretch to not say that it's spot zoning. But that would be my concern.
And along that line, Mr. Hyman, I would just say that we certainly value the integrity of that existing community, and there's nothing visible on 16th Avenue that would liken to a duplex. I'm not necessarily hearing that there's any strong support for this at all.
There appears to be some revitalization of that corridor as well. I don't know if a duplex is in line with some of the revitalizing of that. I mean, I've seen quite a few projects on that road, and I'm with you. None of them are duplexes.
All right. Anyone else before we move on? All right. I'll feel free to move on then. Item B is a discussion of a request to rezone almost 4 acres of property located on Culture Road, PIN 337-030-20034, from City of Conway Forest Agriculture to medium density residential. Ms. Hyman.
Yes, this is a little strip of property on Culture Road. It is the frontage of Tiger Grand, just to give you an idea of what this is exactly. The proposal is this was rezoned. I looked back, it was zoned to FA back in 2004. To develop it as FA would require 2 acre minimum lot size. They are proposing to rezone it to R2 for a single family development. June, if you could go to 2 slides up for me. Yeah. They are proposing single family. They're requesting R2, obviously to be able to fit more lots than the R1 would provide. A request to rezone this to R1 actually went to Planning Commission last year. Mr. Hyman, I think you were on Planning Commission at the time, actually. And at that time, Planning Commission approved or recommended approval for the R1. However, the applicant at that time had wanted to use shared driveways along Culture, and DOT would not allow that. So this proposal includes a frontage road rather than the shared driveways at the request of SCDOT. Just to give you a little background on this. But they are requesting the R2. If they went with R1, it's showing 16 lots now, and it would be required to have a buffer with the R2. If it received R1, they could fit 10 lots, but the buffer would not be required. Just to give you all the information for what the different zoning districts could do for them. This is shown as low density residential on the future land use map. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments?
Yes, Mayor.
Right.
Is this in reference to the public input response that we had earlier
It is.
to tie together?
Yes.
That's what I need. Thank you.
Any other council input at this time?
And I guess I have another question. Are they planning on widening that road cultural anytime soon before these houses are being built?
I don't know that it'd be before these houses are built. It's shown on the GSATs for long term, but last I heard there wasn't funding set aside for it. However, we have requested, and I know it's hard to see on this screen, it's blurry. They do have a portion at the front that says to be dedicated. So we make sure that that feature widening is included and nothing will be built there, so that if time does come and it is widened, there won't be a problem with any structures.
Right. And if there's any peril, that would fall in the hands of the new homeowners. Is that correct? I
That's
mean,
correct.
any shortening of their boundaries, any taking away from their lot size.
That's correct. But we try to, since it is on an approved plan, we try to make sure that it's addressed as much as we can with our power during the plan review phase.
This is today just written as a subject for discussion, but can you speak to staff's lean relative to whether or not 16 residential lots be developed as opposed to 10 in general? You mentioned the difference in one difference, but is it too soon for you to give sort of a recommendation?
No, I'd be happy to address that. I think staff's recommendation would be R1 because that matches the future land use map, which we just approved. So obviously that's something we stand behind here in Tiger Grand, which backs up to it, and the subdivision across the street is R1. However, the one plus of R2 would be the buffer,
Right.
which would add buffer to Tiger Grand.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? There seems to be no more questions or input at this time. So we'll move forward to item 8. Item 8A is a public hearing and first reading of amendments to the UDO, Article 5, conditional uses regarding sidewalk, cafes, outdoor dining, parklets, and shared space. This is first a public hearing, and I'll go to our clerk, Ms. Tessier, and ask if she's received any input from the public relative to this issue.
I've not received anything.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion then to close the public hearing at this time?
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you. Was that a second, Mr. Jordan?
Yes.
I heard someone. I wasn't
William
sure it was you. I'm sorry. We have a properly seconded motion to close the public hearing on this issue. All in favor? I'll just start with Mr. Hubbard. Are you in favor of closing?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Jordan?
Yes.
Ms. Timms?
Yes.
Mr. Hyman?
Yes.
Mr. Goldfinch?
Yes.
And yours truly, yes. So what is the will of the council relative to the first reading? Mr. Hyman?
Mayor, I'd make a motion that we move forward first reading.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
This is Jean, a second.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Timms. We have a properly seconded motion to approve first reading on this issue. Is there any further discussion? Every time I slide to see others of you, there's a delay in my being able to see anybody. So I'm assuming that no hands were raised. Correct me now, please. And since there were none, all in favor, I'll just start out with the list that I used before. Mr. Hubbard? I just lost your audio. Is that a yes?
That was a yes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. White,
Yes.
Mr. Jordan,
Yes.
Ms. Timms,
Yes.
Mr. Hyman,
Yes.
Mr. Goldfinch,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. The motion for first reading is unanimous. Item 8B. I just lost a page somewhere. Item 8B has to do with the FEMA brick project, and I'll be giving some background information on it. Of late, flooding has been one of the most pervasive, most frequent, and most harmful challenges we face as a city. As you, my colleagues, are aware, city staff has committed much time and attention to identifying, developing, and funding a drainage project in one of our hardest hit communities, the Sherwood area. With our partners, an innovative project that mimics the natural Carolina bays and offers us great hope in managing floodwater has been developed. This project will substantially improve our historical flood experiences and add a beautiful amenity to boot. Our potential grantor now requires we issue a formal name for our project. From the onset, now retired Conway Public Works Director Kevin Chestnut imagined how this model could effectively channel and slow the flow of flood water in Conway. His idea was kept afloat by his own diligent and dedicated work with partnering engineers and hydrologists. We can make this important project Kevin Chestnut's legacy by appropriately naming it Chestnut Bay. I therefore move that this council name the project Chestnut Bay. We're open for a second, comments, questions.
Mayor, this is Shane. I'll second that.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Hubbard. We have a properly seconded motion, and there's still opportunity for discussion if there is any. So far, I see no hands and hear no comments. That being the case, we have a properly seconded motion, and I'll now call the vote. Mr. Hubbard?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Jordan?
Yes.
Ms. Timms?
Yes.
Mr. Hyman?
Yes.
Mr. Goldfinch?
Yes.
And yours truly. I'll make that unanimous. And thank you all. I think that that is a very good thing for us to do. Item 9, first reading of a request to annex approximately an acre of property located at 2886 Everett Street, PIN 326-1403-0016, and request to rezone from Horry County Residential SF40 to City of Conway Low Density Residential. I'm assuming Ms. Hyman.
This property recently changed ownership, and therefore a request for annexation was required.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion for first reading?
I move we accept first reading of this motion.
Thank you, Ms. Timms. Is there a second?
Second.
I don't know who said, Mr. Hubbard?
That was Alex, me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hyman. So we have properly seconded motion to approve first reading of this annexation request. Is there any discussion? There apparently being none, I will call the vote, beginning with Mr. Hubbard.
Yes.
Mr. White? Mr. White?
Yes. I'm sorry, I was muted.
That's all right. Mr. Jordan?
Yes.
Ms. Timms?
Yes.
Mr. Hyman?
Yes.
Mr. Goldfinch?
Yes.
And another unanimous vote. I also vote yes. Item 8. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? Somehow my agenda has item 9 preceding item 8. This must be an earlier one. I'm so sorry. So what I did already is we've already heard and made a decision regarding the FEMA brick project. That would have been 8B. And now we will do 8A. That is just the order in which I see it. And I do apologize. 8A is consideration of a request of sidewalk requirements for the 7-Eleven to be located at the corner of Cox Ferry Road and US 501, PIN 383-0104-0053. Ms. Hyman.
Yes, and this will actually be coming, this annexation rezoning will be coming to council at an upcoming meeting, but it's now on TRC review, the sketch plan, and they're requesting a waiver from the sidewalk requirements for the 7-Eleven, and I know you've had many of these requests before, but the way the ordinance is written, it says that if there's no foreseeable connectivity in the area, then city council can consider that the applicant paid the fee in lieu rather than installing the sidewalks. And the map, normally the maps that we show you, you can see little red where the sidewalks are. And this map has no red. There's no sidewalks in the immediate area. So staff could recommend that city council consider the fee in lieu for the sidewalk.
Thank you, Ms. Hyman. It's very understandable. Is there then a motion relative to this consideration for the applicants paying a fee in lieu as opposed to honoring the sidewalk requirement?
Mayor, this is William. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Goldfinch. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Hubbard. We have a properly seconded motion to approve a fee in lieu of a sidewalk requirement for the 7-Eleven store. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, please, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. White.
Is that not the area where there's a signal light right there?
Yes.
On 501? And
Yes.
my concern really is that there have been so many accidents there with cars. Maybe we should reconsider that about not having sidewalks, because that area is growing. Whether there's none connectivity there or not, I think there should be some safety for the folks that might be walking to that area now that it's growing so much. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. White. Ms. Hyman, go ahead.
And this is part of the DOT widening. So DOT is going to be doing some work in this area also. So as we're reviewing the plans, we'll make sure to take pedestrian safety into account also.
Does that work, Ms. Hyman, further the need to move in favor of the fee? What is the timing of SCDOT's work as opposed to when the sidewalk would have been placed? Do you have a sense of
that? I'm not sure. This request has been deferred a few times. So I'm not sure what the timetable is with this. That's not something I know for sure when this will be completed.
All right, but staff's recommendation is to accept the fee in lieu.
It is only because there's no foreseeable connectivity at this time.
All right. Well, we'll call the vote, having considered what each of you has said. Mr. Hubbard?
Yes.
Mr. White?
No.
Mr. Jordan?
Yes.
Ms. Timms? Ms. Timms, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I don't know how I got unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Are we voting to eliminate the sidewalk requirement and accept the fee in lieu? I had to answer.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're doing.
I vote for that.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Hyman?
Yes.
Mr. Goldfinch?
I think yes, but I wanted to ask a question if I could.
Yeah.
I was a little unclear, if I may.
Absolutely.
With respect to DOT, is the thinking there that if they put the sidewalk in, they're just going to come in and tear it up with their work and have to put it back in again? Was that staff's rationale for making that?
That was not something that they expressed to me, not the applicant. I think it was just, there's not one in the area, and they didn't think that it made sense at this time. Because really it'd be required on both roads, not just on 501. It's required on Cox Ferry also.
But that's something that we could always come back and put in if we saw the need for.
That's correct.
Right.
Correct. Okay, I'm a yes.
Thank you. And that's just following up, Mr. Goldfinch, and that's exactly why we have the fee in lieu. It's now or later, depending on sort of, what we see happening in that area. And I'll vote yes. So it's not unanimous, but the majority does say yes. So that motion is approved. And if I'm on the right track, we're now at I've got a second item 9. I guess this is item 10, the city administrator's report.
Well, good afternoon, and I will be brief. I've only got 2 things on my report. The first one is we were contacted by Matt Varnador at the marina. Horry Georgetown Technical College has reached out to him about bringing a class to the marina to conduct boat repair clinics with their students. This would be an offset of their Yamaha boat motor repair class. We have one slip down there that is not rentable due to its tight confines. So it's not one that we rent normally, but they think it can work for their purposes. If council agrees, I'd like to allow them to partner with us on this project and comp them the slip that we can't rent anyway for this boat motor class. There's no objection. You can raise it whenever you want to, but just let me know before the end here. The only other thing on my report is personal. As you all are aware, I am in my last day of quarantine from COVID-19. Thank you for conducting this meeting via Zoom to allow me to be here. And I know, as you know, there were other staff members that recently tested positive as well. So it benefited us all to have this meeting this way. In the last several months, we've seen an influx of cases that is unprecedented, and it's very, very close to home, literally in my home. I've heard some say that this virus is inevitable, that we will all get it, so we might as well not be bothered to take precautions to avoid it. You might think that since I've been vigilant in the way that I've handled myself and I still got it, that I may now subscribe to that same notion, but that is not true. Had my family not been hyper vigilant, we would not have tested our kids at the first symptom. Had we not done that, we would have exposed my older family members and my immediate family over Christmas. They then would have exposed their older friends in the next few days, and my actions may have contributed to extreme sickness for those that could not afford to fight it. Even today, on my last day of quarantine, I still feel the effects of the virus. I am weak, I am tired, my brain is not firing on all cylinders, and I can feel it. I'm still a little worried about how it's affected me so far and whether I'm in the clear from it. I never had severe symptoms, but I had a headache for 9 straight days. I had muscle aches and pains for a week. I've been a little fuzzy-headed, well, for as long as I can remember having the virus. And yet, had I not been hypervigilant, had I been in denial about this virus, I probably would have worked through every bit of it, toughing it out. We as a community cannot afford to have this attitude. So I urge you, if you feel it all off, go get tested and isolate until you get your results. Stop this thing from spreading. And that is all I have for my report. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Emmerich. We certainly pray that your symptoms completely subside, that for you and for everyone. I think you've given us food for thought. Thank you so very much. We'll now entertain council input. And for the sake of consistency, I will follow the order that we've been using since almost since the beginning of this meeting. Mr. Hubbard.
I'm going to be brief as well. I want to thank everybody for your prayers and reaching out and your well wishes for me for what I've been going through, and could have been a lot worse. I'm doing very well now, and everybody try to keep John posted and his family in your prayers. I think he's doing very well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hubbard. Mr. White.
I just want to say as well, thank you for everybody that's just doing whatever you're doing to keep the virus not spreading. And I just thank God for us still being here. As well.
Thank you, Mr. White. Mr. Jordan.
Yes, I'll just be very brief as well. Thank Chief Long and Chief Hendrick for stepping up this morning and setting an example for our public safety. Their first round of vaccines this morning. I myself am scheduled for tomorrow, so encourage everyone as you can, and as it allows for you to be able to get this vaccine, to go ahead and line up and get in line and get this behind us sooner than later. That's it.
Thank you so much. If you find out a way that I can get in that line, you let me know. I'm ready.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Timms.
Well, I think all of us are grateful that we have finally gotten rid of 2020, and let's just hope that 2021 is going to be the beginning of a new opening of not just our health issues, but the city and all of our personal lives as well. But I do think that we can't be too careful. There was something over an extremely large number in North Carolina yesterday. And I mean, I just think people are, until they have someone that they know that passes away from it, they tend to treat it in a very nonchalant manner. And that's probably what has us where we are today. I have personally lost a very good friend from childhood in this past week, and it hits home. And I think we need to take it seriously, not so much, it's for everybody's sake. We won't get better until we do better. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Timms. Mr. Hyman.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo everyone's sentiments concerning the COVID virus and the effects that our community is feeling it. I would also like to just ask everyone to continue praying. On a lighter note, I do want to congratulate Coastal Carolina's head football coach, Jamie Chadwell, who was voted by other coaches as the coach of the year for the entire nation. I think that's very impressive. And we certainly congratulate him along with the Coastal Carolina football team. Also, on another note, Adam, I had mentioned last meeting about the apartment complex down by the river, and it does seem like you had reached out to him and we got a response. Judging by the response that we received, I definitely think we need to maybe circle back around on that.
Yes, I agree, Mr. Hyman. I think we need to regroup and come up with our next step.
But other than that, it's good seeing everybody, even if it's over Zoom. I hope that everyone had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And that's all I got.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hyman. Mr. Goldfinch.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'm not going to repeat what everybody said about COVID, but we gotta be diligent about this thing. There seems to be an element in this community that doesn't take it seriously, and there's a law in place. And as y'all well know, it took me a while to get on board, but I think this thing needs to be enforced, and folks need to play by the rules to keep everybody safe, so kids can go back to school and we can get life back as normal. Other thing I was going to add is I know we've talked about it, particularly the month of December, but just how good our city looked. We just have been through a very challenging year, but you hear it. I know y'all do. Everybody hears it everywhere we go, just about how good Conway looks. And it does. And not just from the people that always compliment it, but it seems as though I've heard it from the people that always complain about things around town have come out of the woodwork saying just how good our city looks, particularly the Christmas lights, but even the jack-o'-lanterns in the tree. And Adam, I don't know if that was your idea or who was responsible for that, but if you had asked me, William, what do you think about putting 500 pumpkins in the trees there on Main Street, I might have looked at you like you had three heads, but it was brilliant and people appreciated it. And I just hope that we continue as a staff and as a council to look outside the box, to try new things. as a good friend reminds me often, William, you don't grow inside your comfort zone, you grow outside of your comfort zone. And to take some little risk and, so that we can continue to grow and expand. Anyway, so just hats off to all the crews that had anything and everything to do with making this city look good this past year, as dark as it was sometimes, to see all of those lights and, the cool things that we're doing here is just a really wonderful thing. So thank you very much. That's all I've got.
Thank you. I'm going to start with one of the last things Mr. Goldfinch mentioned, and that has to do with the decorations for various holidays. My sister-in-law sent me photographs of her two daughters with nothing but Christmas in the background, and with a brief glance, I didn't recognize where they were. They live in Macon, Georgia, and at the point I said that, what a beautiful background, she thanked me for making it so. And that's about the time that I recognized that even that had come from a place in the city of Conway that I either hadn't looked at long enough or hadn't noticed along the way. One of the reasons that's so important, particularly in this year, is because everybody needed something to raise their level of joy and to signify hope for a brighter and better day. And I think those decorations certainly did do that. Mr. Hyman, I did intend to mention Coastal Carolina. I didn't know about the coach's designation as Coach of the Year, but I certainly do applaud him now. But I wanted to say that Coastal Carolina Chanticleer football team, they're still champions to me. That Liberty game was one anomaly after another. I've never seen a football game played out quite so oddly. I think that we are super good at what we do, and I want to give all my congratulations still to that team. And now I've got some feedback, and I can't hear myself for hearing myself. I just want to say to everybody that COVID-19 continues to be a menace in our world, but I think everybody's already said it well. This is our chance to dig our heels in, to rescue our economy, to rescue our people. I do believe that if we do the right thing and we do it consistently, that the time is waning for COVID-19 and getting closer to us having a better semblance of normalcy, which is something we haven't known for nearly a year. On March 1st, I came back from a cruise. I think it was the first. And for the first time, there was a lot of, all the news shows were talking about COVID and how big it had gotten and how real it was becoming. And there's no way I could have imagined what it would mean to the United States or Horry County and Conway for that matter, nor could I have imagined that it would last throughout the calendar year. But you all have said it well. We get it, and we're going to do what we need to do to make sure it subsides. I'll close it with this last notion. We've had a law in place 4 months that requires the wearing of a mask. The last time I asked, not a single ticket had been written. We are either not paying attention as in our enforcement, or there's something that just doesn't fit quite well with that. We're not trying to be a police state. We're not trying to get people in trouble. But if a few tickets are distributed, I believe that those are attention getters, and I believe it'll make a difference. We didn't put it out there just for somebody to talk about. We're talking about saving our lives, saving each other's lives. And I believe our police officers ought to enforce that rule just like all the others. I'm happy to see everybody, albeit through Zoom. Happy New Year, and look forward to movement in another direction really soon. And with all that said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Somebody, Mr. Hubbard?
William here, I'll second.
Okay, we have a properly seconded motion to adjourn at this time. All in favor, Mr. Hubbard,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mr. Jordan,
Yes.
Ms. Timms. I saw your mouth move. Mr. Hyman
Yes.
and Mr. Goldfinch.
Yes.
I also vote yes. So the motion carries unanimously. God bless and keep safe. Good night.
Bye-bye.